or you're gonna go to jail, boy. Or you might wind up getting dropped 6 feet down.
I joined the department in about 1965. It was very different from what it is now. I think we were a lot more aggressive then. I don't much care for the word harassment. I'd say there was a time we were a head-knocking department, yeah.
There are about 700 men in the Oakland Police Department. An overwhelming number are white, and most live in the suburbs, outside the city. Patrolman John Dixon joined the department after a stint with the Coast Guard. He grew up in Hollister, is a family man, and likes his work. To this extent, he is a typical Oakland policeman.
In the past, there was a quota system. It wasn't down on paper, but it did exist. You were expected to write a certain number of citations, and if you were a good policeman, you made a certain number of arrests. The quota system had to result in it.
Dude, you were born and raised in Oakland.
Yes.
And after you live in New York, right?
Yeah, I lived in New York for 6 years.
6 years.
In Brooklyn.
That's way too long, man. I lived there for like not even a year, and I was like losing my mind over there, man. It was just like way too intense. So, and after you moved to the Netherlands right away after New York.
Yeah, that was like I came here kicking and screaming. Yeah.
Yeah. Kicking and screaming with 2 kids.
Kicking and screaming. No, I had one. I came here with one.
Oh yeah, and the second one.
The second one was
okay. On the way.
That was an act of love.
Okay, let's put it on act of love.
Act of love.
Hey,
like James Brown said, out on love. Yeah, you see that interview where he's coked up? Yeah, out on love. Are you out of love, James? Or are you out on love?
And but dude, so you have your experience in the US, but so you live here since what, 5-6 years now?
6 years.
6 years.
So 6 years, yeah.
6 years already. Okay, so now you almost a local. Let's put it that way. No,
I'll never be. I'm gonna be a modern. We're modern day Moors. I'm fashioning myself off of being a modern day Moor.
An expatriate local. We put it that way.
Yeah.
But hey, this is a question I get, like I told you, like quite a lot of time on like social media and after on the podcast. But people always like, hey, is racism as bad in Europe as it is in the US? You know, I guess what I mean is like, do we have this systemic racism in place and as obvious here in Europe as it is in the US, and so violent?
It's not as violent and it's not as obvious, but this is even worse, I think, because this is the root of it. It comes, so what they try to do is they try to wash their hands and say, here, we're not like the US. We never had slaves here. We never had this here. They hide their histories. They rewrite their histories. They did have slaves here. They did have servants. They do have African or Moorish symbolism within these things called Wapenskild, which I'm doing certain work now with Moorish Wapenskilds, which is like Moorish coat of arms. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of rewriting of things here. And it is the roots here, and they're trying now to wash the crime off their hands. But nah, I mean, most layman people will not see it.
No. Yeah, that's exactly what I try to explain. I tell them that, you know, it's not as violent and it's not as open. I mean, what I experienced in Texas and in California was more like people would just come to me and just blatantly be racist and tell me, oh, you know, you're pretty good for a black boy, just right away. But here, you just can see it in people's behavior, and you can feel the energy that is a bit awkward, and you can feel that you're not necessarily welcome, or you just like under watch most of the time.
I want to say this and preface this first, is that these are all my own opinions.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be dropping some M-bombs and maybe some fucks, some shits, some like, you know,
you just did.
Exactly. I'm not a very censored dude, you know what I mean? But when it comes to what you just said about like California, Texas, hey, you a good old boy, you know that? I want to tell this story about my Uncle Roy, and he went to Texas. I think I said this last time.
I think, because we had to record it.
We had to re-record it. So, like, my Uncle Roy came from Panama. So, like, my family, they're Jamaicans who moved to the Canal Zone, and then they were there for one generation. Then from Panama, they moved to the States. So, my grandma, she initially moved to California, became a nurse. My Uncle Roy, he went to Texas first.
Okay.
So from what this story I've been told was like, hey, nigga, over here, this guy's kind of saying, trying to hit him with the hey, N-word talk, And he looks at him, he goes, what makes me more of a nigga than you? And it was just like, and it was a very poignant way of putting it, because what we were talking about of how race and certain things are set up here, the people who are making the decisions, the certain Eurocentric entities or bodies who would come there, they had to divide and conquer. So like the poor white crackers, aka the New Age police, these cats got their little bit of power by a certain subclass being created. So that's what you're talking about when you see these people in Texas and California, is these people who are now have that little bit of power because they only have this white skin.
The little town complex and little town bosses. You often see that and that's the one that actually show the most racism, or just the most racist most of the time.
Because they're the most brittle. They have the least amount of real power.
That's it.
That's kind of what I was saying about here, is that they tried to wash their hands of that situation here, because they were the land bosses. They were the people with the money, and then they hired out certain people who just didn't have anything. Went there as hired guns, hired help. The 7-year servants, and didn't the indentured servants. But then, then they became the people who chased down runaway slaves, or so those are the people who generationally. That's why you see the cycle of Black Wall Street being burnt down, and lynchings, and all these fucking deplorable acts, despicable acts, and why they've happened in the U.S. and why they have not happened here. It's because of this subdivision of white people and kind of class and caste systems created within themselves.
The early roots of American policing begin within the context of slavery. Before the Civil War, African Americans, particularly those living in the U.S. South, were enslaved. One of the things that developed throughout various parts of the South was the creation of slave patrols.
Slave patrols were made of white volunteers. They would stop, question, and punish enslaved people caught without a permit to travel. They used vigilante tactics and terror to deter slave revolts. South Carolina set up the first slave patrol in 1704.
Well, the white volunteers who joined the slave patrols felt empowered to control the lives of Black people. And this is where we begin to talk about how whiteness functions within the historical lens.
Then came the Reconstruction era after the American Civil War. It's during this time the U.S. starts seeing organized and uniformed police officers. By the end of the 19th century, all major U.S. cities had police forces in place.
They are made up of predominantly white men, and they are functioning in a very similar way as the earlier slave patrols, in that they are continually targeting Black people.
The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the U.S. in 1865, yet Black codes were introduced immediately after.
What is the origin of racism? When did it exactly start?
So how did these racial divides even occur? You look at the Inquisition in the 1400s, and you had to see you have people who are Christian, the people who are Islamic Moors,
and also Jewish,
and Jews, of course, I'm not equipped to speak of that yet. I always do my research for life, but when I'm ready to speak on that, I'll rap on it. But I'll just be very misinformed and unintelligible. But with things in the 1400s and from I think it was the year 771 when the Moors came into Spain, until 1492, we're talking 700 years. This is a type of people who have had certain freedoms during this time, but they were not in power of their own land. So that kind of creates a certain repression or anger. And that's why, these people they are Islamic folks. And during the Inquisition, they created divide and conquer. The darker people are not as good. These white Christians, they a bit better. And those systems have still continued to this day. But issues of race and systems of race, you look at a funky older white woman like Jane Elliott, who says that she's a Black woman who has just lost her hue over being in Europe for so long. She a cold individual.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be against anyone of race. I'm just here to not be someone's doormat.
Yeah.
And I never will be. And I know you never will be.
No.
You know, so it's these things. It's like I'll run around you with some conversation.
Yeah.
Some of these white boys.
Yeah.
You know.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions.
No, I definitely hear it, but that's the thing. Yeah, so for the people, yeah, it's been there, and I mean, I don't know if you experienced it here, but like we said, it's not visible. It's invisible. It's ingrained in the system. And how do you because you have two sons, two boys, and
before we get to that question,
tell me,
because we said something, I have to give some game to some people. I have to give some shouts to some people.
Tell me,
Jennifer Tosh,
yeah,
Black Heritage Tours in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
she also does one in New York State.
Okay,
I haven't been on that tour, and I don't know much about that one.
All right,
but based on the research that Jennifer Tosh, Tosch,
okay,
that she does with Black Heritage Tours here in Amsterdam, you will find historical evidence of us being here.
Yeah.
And it being rewritten and swept under a rug.
Good.
So y'all got that information.
I went to a Dutch university as an exchange student, and I was really surprised that most of the focus was so much on the East Indies, the Dutch East India Company. Very little attention was made for the West Indies. And even the discussion about colonialism or slavery was somewhat minimized or marginalized. And so I questioned that a lot and asked why. And the answers I got were quite surprising in that, well, there's not much known about this. It's in the past. It's a long time ago. There was no black history in the Netherlands. Everything happened in the colonies, so there were no direct connections. And that's kind of what started my journey. What we do is we travel either by boat or horse carriage or as a walking tour throughout the city of Amsterdam, exploring what I call this hidden history in plain sight, really looking at how did empire become what it is today, looking at the locations and sites of memory in Amsterdam that really show us this hidden history of the black presence, so on monumental buildings, on city canal houses, in the museum, exploring how are people of color represented on these monumental buildings or canal houses.
So, as a father in 2020, a black father, there is a question that keeps on haunting me most of the time. It's like, how do I raise my daughter? How do I raise my kid to keep her independence, to keep her freedom, without jeopardizing herself in this society and this system? And how do I teach her the best to actually use the system and don't have the system using her, knowing who she is, staying humble and staying strong?
I explained to them the significance of Malcolm X already.
Mm-hmm.
There are 6 and 7. Malcolm X, Black Panther Party. And just, I kind of roll it into it and make it understood. It's like you're never gonna, because they're already trying to put this Zwarte Piet thing. If for the people who are listening who don't know what Zwarte Piet is.
They know, because most of our listeners are Dutch.
Okay, cool. But this whole horse shit is Zwarte Piet. I'm currently in a relationship with the Dutch woman. Of half Dutch, half Antillean descent.
Yep.
But they'll still talk about the Zwarte Piet thing, and we were talking even about it last night.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing people, great family, but they talking, say, guys, I don't need to see none of this. Videos of this, or hey, we can get some things for your kids for this and that. But nah, we good. We pass on that. We'll just do the Coca-Cola Christmas.
Yeah.
On the 25th.
We go with the birth of Jay, of the biggest white propaganda.
You talking about the birth of white Jehovah?
Yeah.
But yeah, so for my boys, back to the question. For my boys, it's really just about not being here, but also not being in the States, because in the States, you see how they're treating us. And it's somewhere you kind of have to create this place that doesn't even exist, I feel. It really is like a place. It's based, and it's kind of how I base a lot of things in my art practice, which is based in the right folkloric lessons and leadership lessons of Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, again, I said the Black Panther Party, or didn't say it, but I said it before, Fred Hampton, and also some of these dudes was from the streets. And then also how they try to position it with the COINTELPRO thing, with the shooting at UCLA. And like, you have to read through and dig through a lot of this, because it really has been, they tried to demonize, excuse me. They try to demonize some of our young, positive brothers who were just, you look at Malcolm. Malcolm was pimping. He was on drugs. He had to go and read dictionaries and read books to get to his God space.
He's the one that was actually seeking freedom, because he went through all those flows, and then he decided, oh, this is not good for me. It's been good until now. And I've learned what I had to learn, but it cannot work and it cannot go this way. And I'm always going to find out what the truth is to me.
But he had all this separationist thought, right? And he's like, yo, we're going to do it this way. But then Garvey had this separationist thought. Excuse me for getting close to the mic.
That's good.
Garvey had this separationist thought. And I also believe in being separate, but also being integrated, if that makes sense. It's like, hey, I'm going to always support black business. I'm always going to support my brothers. I'm always going to support my sisters. And I'm always going to make sure that we are positively represented and positively creating our narrative in our businesses. So with, say for instance, like with Malcolm, you just said, I was talking to Tony Green, just the history OG, my research OG, the best educator I've ever had in my life. Shouts to the guy. We were talking about chapter 11, Mecca, in the autobiography of Malcolm X. And when he's there, he's seeing that he's around white Muslims. And it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with these systems of money and caste and stepping on someone else's neck.
That's it.
And being better and thinking that you're better and genuinely thinking that you're better. And I've seen it and I felt it in this country while working on construction sites. Someone thinking that I am their fucking peasant. With Malcolm, he had that. And then with Martin, he started getting past all this peace, love, and chicken grease. He got past that, and they kind of got to the same place during their deaths. So Malcolm got a lot softer and more human.
That's it.
Martin got a lot more, revolutionary and willing to try new things.
Exactly.
And Garvey was kind of his own worst enemy in some ways, in some regards. I hope I answered the thing about the kids, man. I just want them to be not tied to here and free-thinking people, and not. I don't want, because also the conditioning, because if you come from a Dutch system, a French system, a British system, a Portuguese or Spanish system, your conditioning is different based on the colonial body. I don't want them thinking or identifying as only American, African American, or trying to have the black experience of people that they see here from Suriname or the Antilles here. I want them to think it's Pan-Africanist.
Okay.
That's what I want them to think is. You go somewhere you can be comfortable and your slang and you're open.
Yeah.
You go somewhere you can eat the right things and just be open and not be, soft about it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Be fluid with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, because you have two sons, and that's a bit more brutal for guys, always on women. And I was thinking my daughter how to do it, but it's more like, hey, know where you're from. Always remember that. Know where you're from, and explain the meaning. Know where you're from, and always be measured with what you say. Do no harm, but don't take shit. That's more that. And always seek for what is true to you on the day. Never take anything for eternal truth or whatever, and always criticize what you see, even your own thoughts. Criticize your own thoughts. So say something, but be humble to actually go back to it.
Of course.
If someone is offended or someone is saying that, to see where you're standing with that, and if it's truly from your heart or if it's not. If it's truly from your heart and all that, you can't go wrong. I've said it, fuck the police, fuck the system, this is bullshit. I've been angry at it, I've been enraged against it, I'm still angry at it, enraged about it, and how things are still slow on moving. They're moving, but they're moving very slowly, democracy being very slow. But what is really the solution to that problem? How do we fix it? How do we resolve this big issue, and which is also intertwined with many other issues? What is the solution?
Go love yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like look within yourself, find the deficiencies, find the insecure shit,
Yeah.
go to therapy, whatever it is, and don't project that on other people.
True.
Like, don't be a homophobe, don't be a racist, don't look for the humanity in other people. And for, we're kind of taller guys. We kind of have a certain thing that makes us confident in whatever you have in your reasoning, I have in my reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we can find the love within ourselves, to find the peace, to have, I had to do this myself.
Yeah.
Where I kind of at some point became toxic towards my friends and some of my friends in my community around me
Mm-hmm.
and myself.
Yeah.
Toxic, So it takes work, that takes a lot of work. And the more that you can look within yourself, that you can find reflections in others and become a better listener, become a better friend, become a better partner. I'm trying to keep my stuff simple, man.
Thing is, we have to look at as a global thing. We're creative, and also we have this thing of we can destroy and rebuild in our work, and also we do that a bit in our works on the side as well. But not everyone has this ability as well, and this is why I was asking you this question, where we go as a group. But you answered, I think, really well. And like we always say, it starts with yourself when you're destroying it, and it starts with yourself when you're rebuilding it. But it's difficult because the system has made people so dependent on the system and dependent on patriarchal. How do you say? This is the hand that's going to give you your power. You may kiss my hand and own your own power, and you are someone because you kiss my hand, and because you being a good boy, and because you being this obedient servant.
But we said something about caste systems and money and these false inflated senses of importance.
Yeah.
I'm a human. He's trying to find the God within him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm a human trying to find the God within him. I see it within you. I see it within our brother Terrell. I see it within a lot of our just be simple and find the, because why am I going to go brown nose and put my nose up someone's ass to get my hand kissed? Like, oh yeah, you're knighted now. You're this now. And these things are human inventions. Like, I want to have an experience with nature. I want to have a real experience where this race stuff is human. I don't want to be within the human space of human invented things. I want to get to my Jane Elliott space. Be like, channel my older woke white lady.
Yeah.
Space.
To translate it in my words, I think that's exactly what I think as well. It's like, the most important to you is the essence. The essence you have out there, and the essence inside of you. You want to be closer to yours, and be closer to the nature and the origin of it all, which is the essence. This energy, whatever you can mirror in nature, whatever you can mirror with other people, and whatever you can mirror with your core. That is the most important. The rest is just prosthetics attachment to yourself, just based to just navigate.
And the simpler you go, the better it gets, because like you're better for the people around you. You're better for the people that you love, and you're not chasing things you don't need, and you're not working to pay for things that you really don't need to make you feel emotions that are not important.
Very true. And simple doesn't mean empty.
No, simple is the deepest shit ever.
That's it. Simple, by being simple, it means getting rid of the unnecessary, like you're saying.
The noise.
the noise,
distraction,
the flashes, the everything, the background, blah blah blah.
That shiny suit shit.
Exactly. It's just when you by yourself in a room, it's enough.
You can look at yourself and be with yourself and be patient and be happy.
And it's already you can feel.
And it feels amazing.
And you're here.
Because you do the work. Because we got.
Exactly.
I brought 7 books for you today just to look at. Because I see that like, yo, I'm supposed to keep feeding myself.
Yeah.
This is my fruit for the day. This is my vegetables for the day.
Yeah.
These things are.
Food for thought.
These are how we sustain ourselves.
Yes.
So we in this society, we were speaking about this in the car earlier. I want to bring this up. Wearing masks and some France Fanonians, some things. We're not going to get into Fanon today, but like understanding where your mask is in this society. And I don't really put too much of a mask on. I just try to not participate in this society as much as possible. I try to have as many things work for me or work for my benefit in this society. And just try not to participate in European space. Like you see the people who go to the terraces and do all this fuck shit on the terraces. And you know what I mean? Oh, we're gonna go to the terrace and hang out in the sun because these motherfuckers ain't got enough sun out here. Yeah, man, I'm gonna soak up the sun in my amazing studio, make some work, be away from y'all terraces, and just choose not to participate in overly European space, and then I protect myself. You know, and then I feel like I got my my armor on, I got my Black Panther suit, my Iron Man suit on.
I would translate again for people because I need to this translating. I totally understand your language, but a lot of people I don't get what you're talking about.
And that's what I want.
I'm offended, but
hold on, I want that because if they understand me, that means I'm getting too close to these motherfuckers. Yes. You know what I mean?
But what you're trying to mean is like you don't need the parade, and you don't need to show yourself outside. You find where you are in your secret garden, in your temple of thoughts and temple of emotion and painting. And you don't need to put yourself out there. You're just fine by living and existing. You're doing everything by living and existing. You don't have to move and just generate all that noise to just validate yourself.
To validate, but also I think the more that we're speaking about, we're not going to speak to the details of this thing that we spoke about before we did this. To protect the guilty, or the cooning, or the bullshit, the playing into the Dutch society, but I want to keep my essence, and I don't want elements of this culture to come into and wash away some elements I find beautiful about myself, or the things I find beautiful about back home. I don't want to get watered down. And I think the more that I let some of this energy in, I will become watered down. So I always kind of keep, like you got to keep it here, or you got to keep your, what was the word that we said in the car? It was like your programming.
Yeah, we have to. You're pretty much hacking the system.
We put a false program in there, so it looks like we programmed.
Yeah.
We put a false program so you can go through daily life, and that's kind of how I feel. I feel like I have a false program running, where you can kind of keep these things moving, but you ain't really believing it. And I don't.
No. I don't believe in it, and that's because I'm economically dependent to the system. That's the only reason. That's the capitalistic thing. If there was no economic dependence to the system that is absolutely failing at this moment and collapsing in many ways, well, my life choices wouldn't be much different, but I will be 100% more who I am, and I will have a lot less worries that are not necessary to be there. And that is the thing, because that's the thing. I mean, whether I have less money or more money, I'm always doing the same thing. So this is where I know that I'm the same. Yeah. So this is where you know that you are close to who you really are. You're not actually
to your essence.
Exactly.
To your true essence.
And you know what feeds you and what makes you go and grow and keep balance as well. That's very important for me. The balance. Yeah. Being a Libra, man, the
surfing.
The equalizing in the water, and that is primordial to me. But less or more money is just create more opportunity to just like actually have more.
Money is a tool.
It's a tool. That's
Money is a tool,
Yeah.
and if you think that money makes your dick bigger or something, or money makes you a cooler person, or money, you're a fuckwad person. So yeah, like money is just a tool.
I'm not going to translate that. It's
you
clear enough.
You ain't got to translate shit. You know, like, nah, man, you're a dickwad. Like, get out of here, man. Like, money is, these people who think they got things. I know so many people who got money who are just not happy and have no creativity, and it's their little privileged prison, man.
It took me a while to understand what being black meant, where I stood as a black girl in this world today, and what it meant for me. Because at some point, everywhere I went, I felt like I didn't fit in, like I had to be checklisting these boxes in order to fit in. I had to convert myself, to change myself in order to fit in to different societies. And I know using different examples, using different circumstances, every one of you have faced this kind of thing. The need to fit in, the need to change yourself and just feel like you're one of a group. And not even to prove it to yourself, to prove it to society, because they tell you, oh, you're this, and so you have to do this and this and this in order to become someone, in order to have an identity, in order to be someone. And so you're a man and you go, oh, society tells me I have to be this and this and this. And after checklisting those boxes, you say, okay, now I am a man, because they have given me the approval that I am a man.
I used to work for Ashford and Simpson in New York, the songwriters. And then through there, meeting like Maya Angelou, and then we'll talk about this again in the podcast, but like just seeing genuine greatness. And how, like, you see how genuinely great people, how they treat other people.
Yeah.
The thing of, you must, even when you get to the top, or whatever your version of the top is, because that's always subjective.
Yeah.
How you treat people. And you must always treat the doorman like you treat the CEO. You must treat the janitor like you treat that high cat who got an airplane or something. You can they're people, man. Like it's and the people who I respect the most, like Maya Angelou, she was the coolest, man. That woman was cool. And she rode for our people. Yeah. She rode for women. She was a very special spirit and mind and intellectual, and she was good to people, until the end. Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying is like it's these are the lessons that really matter. It's not about your money.
No.
It's not about your race.
No.
It's
all about, in the end.
So you know all this?
I don't know. I don't know if I know, but I think I've heard of it.
Oh, man. I see you, bro.
I think I've heard of it. But we know. I mean, don't want to sound like a wise ass and use like cheesy quote, but we know it. The more we go and the less I know. That's unfortunate. I feel like for a lot of people feel like I know, but I don't know anything. And that's the thing. The more I go and I feel I don't, because I'm trying to get the more I just get rid of everything that I feel that I knew and I put into my head from society, and the less I know. So I'm like,
put in the James Baldwin quote, the paradox of education quote.
So which one is that one again?
It's like it's the same thing you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the other OG. James Baldwin,
where
he's like, hey, the paradox of education is like the deeper you go, or the more that you learn, the more that you kind of realize that you don't, or the more learning that you have to have, and you'll never get to the end of the rainbow and get that leprechaun with the gold bucket.
Yeah, you never get there.
You never get there.
No.